All right, so today we're going to be forensic investigators. We're digging into one of humanity's greatest and oldest cold cases, the very first masterpieces, hidden for tens of thousands of years in the deep, dark caves of ancient Europe.
So let's just start with the big question, right? We're rewinding the clock 40,000 years. What was going on in the minds of our ancient ancestors that made them venture deep underground to create something that would literally last for an eternity?
Okay, let's dive right in. Now, to crack this case, first we need to know what kind of evidence we're even looking for. Archaeologists have a name for it, and it showed up at a really pivotal moment in our history.
It's called parietal art, and this isn't just some random scribbling. We're talking about very deliberate images made right on cave walls during what's called the Upper Paleolithic. And this is a huge deal, because this period is when anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, that's us, were arriving all across Europe. This art is one of the very first signs of their complex, symbolic culture.
Now let's head to the crime scenes themselves. We're going to visit two of the most important prehistoric galleries on the entire planet, where the evidence they left behind just completely flipped our understanding of the ancient mind on its head.
So, our first stop is Chauvet Cave in France. And get this, it was found completely by accident back in 1994. What they discovered inside was so perfect, so pristine, it was like literally stepping into a time machine set to 32,000 years ago.
The art in Chauvet just shatters all the old assumptions. We're seeing herds of lions on the hunt, powerful rhinos charging, graceful horses. It's unbelievable. These artists use sophisticated techniques, like shading to create depth, and they even scraped the walls to make their figures pop. This wasn't some primitive art slowly evolving. No way. This was a masterclass in realism right from the get-go. Okay, so from France, we head over to Spain, to a place called El Castillo Cave. And this is where our investigation takes a really fascinating turn. Because while Chauvet wows you with its incredible skill, El Castillo is famous for something else: its sheer, mind-boggling age.
Yep, that's the number that changed everything. Using a method called uranium-thorium dating on the mineral deposits that grew over the art, scientists figured out that a simple red disk on the wall is at least 40,800 years old. This makes it the oldest dated cave art in Europe, and it pushes the entire timeline of art history way, way back.
So a number like 40,800 years, that's a pretty bold claim, right? How can scientists possibly be so sure about that? What kind of forensic tools are they using to put a timestamp on a piece of art that's 40 millennia old?
I mean, think about it. It's a huge challenge. There's no signature on the wall, no date. So instead, archaeologists have to rely on some pretty high-tech methods that analyze the materials of the art and the cave itself.
So scientists have a couple of main tools in their forensic kit. Carbon-14 dating is great for anything organic, like the charcoal they use for black pigments. But the real game changer is uranium-thorium dating. This method tests the super thin layers of mineral deposits, or calcite, that form over the paintings like a natural varnish. By dating that mineral layer on top of the art, you get a solid minimum age for the painting underneath. Using both of these methods together builds a much more reliable timeline for our investigation.
Okay, so we've got a timeline. Now let's use that to build a profile of our artists. Who were these people? And what in the world were they working with in these dark and probably pretty dangerous caves?
Their toolkit, when you look at it, seems so simple, but it was incredibly clever. They ground up minerals like ochre and charcoal to make their pigments. They used their own hands as stencils and might have even used hollow reeds to spray the paint, like an ancient airbrush. And their canvas was the cave itself. And this is what's truly brilliant. They used the natural 3D shape of the walls, the bulges and curves, to make a bison's shoulder actually look like it was coming out from the rock. Just amazing.
So you can almost picture the process, can't you? They'd venture deep into the cave, their only light a flickering torch. They'd prepare their paints, maybe etch an outline into the rock, and then apply the color. And that moving torchlight, it would have made these animals look like they were alive, dancing on the walls. It must have been a truly powerful, immersive experience.
And this brings us to the biggest twist in our entire investigation. See, for a long time, we just assumed Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors, were the only artists. But those super old dates from Spain, they raised a radical new question.
So, we have two suspects. For decades, the case was closed. It was Homo sapiens, period. But that 40,800-year-old art at El Castillo, it's older than the earliest solid evidence we have for Homo sapiens in that specific part of Spain. And the only other hominin around at the time? Neanderthals. This isn't just an academic debate, you guys. This changes everything. If Neanderthals created art, it means the ability for symbolic thought wasn't unique to us. It challenges the very idea of what makes our species so special. Now we get to the biggest question of all. We're getting closer to the who, the what, and the when, but we still don't have a motive. Why did they do it? Why go to all that trouble to create these incredible works of art in the deepest, darkest, most inaccessible parts of the world? This is the ultimate question in our investigation, isn't it? Was it just for decoration? Was it part of some ritual, a way to tell a story, or something else entirely? Scholars have been debating this for more than 100 years, and there are a few really compelling theories.
The theories really run the gamut. Some think it was hunting magic, the idea that if you paint an animal, you gain some kind of power over it. Others think it was about marking territory or telling tribal stories. Or maybe, it was just art for art's sake. But one of the most powerful theories has to do with ritual and the supernatural.
This idea of shamanism is fascinating. It suggests that the caves themselves were seen as sacred spaces. The total darkness, the strange echoes, the isolation, it was the perfect environment for entering a kind of trance. The artists, who might have been shamans, could have been painting visions they were having, treating the cave wall almost like a veil between our world and a spirit world.
So, after looking at all the evidence, the art, the dates, the suspects, and the possible motives, where do we stand? What's the final verdict in this 40,000-year-old case?
Well, here's what we know beyond a reasonable doubt. The fact that this art even exists proves that by this time, the human or hominin mind was capable of incredibly complex, abstract thought. Making art like this requires planning, it requires teaching skills to the next generation, and it requires sharing a symbolic culture. It is a massive, massive milestone in our cognitive evolution.
But so many huge questions are still out there. The identity of that very first artist is still hotly debated. We still don't really know the main reason for its creation. And you have to wonder, how many other masterpieces, maybe painted on wood or animal skins, have just been lost to time forever? The case is far, far from closed.
In the end, these paintings weren't made to be hung in a gallery. They were created in the deep dark, for reasons we may never fully grasp. But they survive as this powerful echo from our deepest past, a reminder that the need to create, to communicate, and to leave a mark on the world is one of the most ancient and fundamental parts of being human.